Benfica is a historical club. The Eagles rose to the top of Europe in the 1960s thanks to a once-in-a-lifetime golden generation of talented ballers that would go on to further cement their legacy by winning Portugal their only World Cup medal, in their debut no less. However, the Eagles would go through a massive downward spiral in the next couple of decades, culminating in their own president stealing from the club. Benfica would bounce back though. Luís Filipe Vieira slowly but surely managed to shorten the gap between the Eagles and the Dragons until, in the mid-2010s, Benfica finally regained their supremacy in Portuguese football. Today, I could be sitting here talking about that glorious period where Benfica made their gigantic fanbase happy again with the efficiency of duos like Jonas and Mitroglou, the magic of Gaetan and Salvio, and a constant flow of talented youngsters coming in and filling up Benfica's pockets. But instead, the public's constant need for provocative content has led me down quite a dark path. On the surface, Benfica's rise to glory was an inspirational story of a beloved club fighting corrupt rivals. But in reality, the Eagles weren't so different after all. In this video, we'll be looking into Benfica's email saga. I'll touch on all the major accusations, including controlling priests, gifting vouchers and signing players as favors, and in the end, we'll find out whether their actions truly influenced the league or not. But first, let me give you some context. To really tell you this story accurately, I gotta introduce you to two important characters. The first is Rui Pinto, a nerdy Porto fan who would much rather use his above-average IQ programming on his computer than paying attention in class. He had everything to be brilliant, but instead he chose an inglorious path. He became a whistleblower, messing with the most powerful people on earth, notably in the world of football. Pinto would hack into devices and find compromising info that he would later go on to leak. We're talking about Ronaldo's rape allegations, PSG and Man City's financial fair play violations, and last, but certainly not least, Benfica's multiple corruption allegations. Which leads us to the next character, Francisco J. Marques. A passionate Porto fan, maybe a bit too intense in his personal life, helped freshen up Porto's communication strategy, linking up supporters and the club in ways that had never happened before, such as creating a diary with behind-the-scenes information regarding Porto's business and forming a legend squad for nostalgic fans. But it would be his weekly show on Porto Canal, where he exposed multiple acts of corruption by Benfica that really sent them into the limelight. These two men would be nothing without each other. It was Rui Pinto who gathered the compromising info and J. Marques who made it reach the public. And it all started with a couple of emails between Adão Mendes, a former ref, and Pedro Guerra, a Benfica executive and pundit on late-night TV shows that indicated there could be some sort of scheme to benefit Benfica in their matches. In the first emails, you'd find that those men were quite religious, as for some strange reason, they fixated a lot on priests and masses. We'll have the priests that we chose and we rule the masses where we pray. We just have to pray and sing well. Then in another email, those two men would go on to cite 8 referees that were supposed allies of the Eagles. This hot Tuesday night would mark the beginning of a weekly expose where J. Marques would each week bring a new accusation against people related to Benfica. However, in Benfica's defense, those emails were apparently taken out of context, with a clear intention of making Benfica look corrupt. Or were they? One of the exposed individuals, Paulo Gonçalves, was convicted of the crime of active corruption, specifically for offering gifts to jury member José Silva with the intention of accessing privileged information in various legal cases involving Benfica, including football leaks, the Vouchers case, and the emails case. But again, Benfica had nothing to do with this. It was just one of their most important employees with close ties to the fucking president who decided to act on his own, that's all. Then there's the whole voucher controversy. Back in 2015, Sporting announced Benfica's weird behavior of gifting an Eusebio kit, museum tour tickets, and free entries to the Beer Museum restaurant. But since there was no more evidence that the refs were accepting those gifts in exchange for benefiting Benfica in any way, shape or form, Benfica was acquitted. But what saddens me the most out of everything is this whole debacle with Vitória de Setúbal. Vitória de Setúbal is a historic Portuguese club that has been to Europe multiple times in the past, won several domestic trophies and even finished in second place in the league back in the early 70s. But by the mid-2010s, they were merely a walking corpse, trying to survive in a new era of football management with little resources and a gigantic debt they carried from season to season. And in order to survive, Vitória accepted financial aid from Benfica in the form of inflated transfer fees. The problem is that nothing's free in this world. So Vitória had the obligation to make Benfica's life a little bit easier by spraying their chicks for the Eagles and putting up a huge fight against their direct rivals. Don't believe me? Well, then let's go back to 2018. Benfica was drawing with Vitória with just a few minutes left to play, and out of nowhere, José Costa decides to deploy Luís Filipe, a reserve defender on loan from Benfica who had only played in 2 other matches as a substitute. And what does he do? He almost immediately commits a foul in the box, costing Vitória the match. Unlike the Apito Dourado case, there's no actual evidence that Benfica directly contacted anyone from Vitória to gain anything, and knowing Portugal's justice system like I do, I doubt they'll try to look for anything compromising. I mean, just look at Apito Dourado. They had recordings of Pinto da Costa literally offering hookers to refs, and they couldn't do shit other than taking 6 points at the end of a campaign where Porto had a 20-point advantage over second place. I'm aware the phone taps were illegal, I mean, that was basically the topic of my last video, but if they let that slide, then it's pretty obvious Benfica won't suffer any consequences. Benfica is huge. They have by far the largest fanbase in Portugal with strong influence in every region, including the north. Not only is the club a huge source of distraction for the Portuguese people, but they're also pretty much a money printing machine for Portugal's government. We're talking about a club that puts, on average, 56,248 butts in their red seats. For every sale, part of it goes to the state, and the same applies to all the merch and player sales. Why would the government let such a powerful entity fall? On scale, this is much more unlikely than Man City being relegated. If the Citizens went down, the Prem would have many other big clubs with even larger fan bases to carry on. If Benfica went down, I really can't imagine what would happen to Portuguese football. Would people stop caring? To be fair, many Benfica fans are super casual ones who either don't really want to support the club when they're going through tough times or are simply members of a family of Benfica fans and don't care too much about football. Now, to wrap it up, I'm gonna finish this video with a somewhat biased take that I'll leave up to you to decide whether it's justified or not. In my opinion, and I repeat, in my opinion, if proven to be real, these corruption allegations played a much bigger role than the accusations from Apito Dourado. My point is that Porto was so much further ahead of the competition than Benfica ever was during their 4 consecutive league titles. I get that Porto was basically using their influence to confirm their superiority on the field, but come on, we're talking about both a UEFA Cup and a Champions League winning team. Benfica was never as dominant abroad during the period they're being investigated. Besides, there are many more cases of questionable transfers than just that one of Luís Filipe, made with many different clubs. Sure, that doesn't excuse Porto's actions, and I will always call them out for their shady business with Portimonense. I believe both should be punished. I'm just saying that if we're judging this by the impact it had on the competition, Benfica was able to influence it off the field much more than Porto ever did. Again, this is my opinion. If you want to leave yours, then drop a comment. Just remember to be civil, guys. We're talking about football. I didn't insult your family or anything, nor am I being paid to manipulate the public's perception of a club. I really wish they tried to corrupt me. I do, then that would mean my channel would actually hold some weight in the community. Now, in all seriousness, drop a like if you want to see more content like this, and if you think I should make more content about slightly more positive topics, then let me know what you want to hear me yap about. As always, thanks for watching until the end, I appreciate you, and I will see you in the comments.